How about them Cowboys? Angry Cowboys fan, are you down to ride? Angry Cowboys fan, are you down to ride? Drop a like on the video, go ahead and subscribe.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation and angry Cowboys fans around the world? Y'all know who it is. It's your man, the angry Cowboys fan and Cowboys Nation. Brian Schottenheimer had a press conference today where he spoke about some pretty informative and important things, one of which could give Cowboys Nation a peek at what Brian Schottenheimer's plan is for Joe Milton. So we're going to take a listen to the 3 clips that I got for y'all, and y'all know what we're going to do after that. We're going to come back and unpack this raw and uncut. So, angry Cowboys fans, let's take a listen to the first clip from the Brian Schottenheimer press conference.
Very, very clearly, I said to the guys, we don't look at this at, oh, hey, look, this is just a preseason game. It doesn't matter. I've never said that. I would never say that. It does matter. Every time we get a chance to go out and compete, you compete to win. But at the end of the day, we are trying things and we are not showing things. And we are in the evaluation business. We're trying to evaluate players doing scheme, simple scheme. But when we go to compete, we want to compete to win.
See, Brian Schottenheimer, I think the preseason matters to y'all when it comes to finding these players that are going to flesh out the remainder of the roster, the bottom of the roster, those guys who are fringe cut candidates. Y'all want to give them as many reps as possible so you don't leave any talent like Trey Holden on the cutting room floor. I get it, Cowboys Nation. But what I don't get is actually not playing your starters for a series or 2 in order to get them at football speed. I'm sorry, but no practice where you can't tackle or you can't hit the quarterback is going to get you up to football speed for week 1. I mean, it gets your mechanics down, it gets your fundamentals down, it'll help you with your discipline, but it's not going to help your QB1 coming off of a season-ending hamstring injury get back to form. But jumping into the second clip, Brian Schottenheimer is asked about the hot button question that everyone has either been defending or bashing into the ground, and that's Mazi Smith. I swear, Cowboys Nation, the littlest things will divide this fan base, and I just don't get it. So let's go ahead and get into the second clip so we can come back and talk about it. Let's roll that clip.
I love that Mazi's saying that. Mazi did some good things. He did. There's a play I showed to the group today where it was a gap scheme, and Patrick, he kind of shot up the field, played attack front, and kind of fish hooked the defense, the center blocking back, and then T-Wheat looped around. It's the consistency thing. What I've learned in my time is, when you're a first-round draft pick or you're a high-paid free agent, there's pressure and things that comes with that. And not that Mazi feels that pressure, but Mazi wants to do great, and Mazi wants to be a great player, and Mazi can. But what he has to do is he's got to be more consistent. And that great play that I just described where he's getting his second step in the dirt and he's fish hooking the center and he's basically destroying the line of scrimmage and allowing T-Wheat to come on, that's got to be the standard. Not the, okay, I did that, and then for 2 plays I'm kind of not holding the point as strong as I need to. But when you tell me things like that, that means that that gets me excited because he understands that we're all in this thing together and we need everybody.
All right, Shotty, let me get this correct. Your issue is with Mazi Smith and his consistency. Can I ask you a question, though? When has this organization ever been consistent for this young man? He has been in 3 different defensive coordinator schemes since he's been in this league. He hasn't stayed at a consistent weight because the coaching staff consistently told him he had to change it. So if you want consistency, maybe show a little bit of consistency as a leader. I mean, I'm not talking about just you. I'm talking about the Dallas Cowboys front office as well. Lead by example. But jumping into the last clip, I actually clipped a part of this presser because I was asked in my comment section why there's so much hatred for this young player, and I'm not talking about Mazi Smith. So let's go ahead and take a listen so we can come back and unpack this raw and uncut.
Trey was a young quarterback and you were around. Why didn't it work out with him?
Yeah. Again, I won't say that it didn't work out. I think maybe it didn't work out for him here, but sounds like he's doing a nice job with the Chargers. And I think, Trey, the longer he's around, the one thing it's been fun for me, and I don't see many highlights of other teams, but I did see him running around and making some plays. I think Trey, like Cooper Rush, is beginning to figure out who he is as a quarterback. And that's part of it, man. You got to figure out, okay, what do I do well? Like, you guys asked me about the game after the game about Cooper. Like, I wasn't surprised that what Coop did, checking the ball down, being on top of his hots and things like that. But to Trey's question is, I think he's figuring himself out. Hey, this is what I do really, really well. Let me lean on that. And that's hard for some of these young guys to figure out sometimes early on.
Cowboys Nation, on some real talk, this is what Joe Milton III is going to have to figure out. He is going to have to figure out what he does well. I mean, I know that he needs a quarterback coach in order to work on his touch passes, his bullet passes, his accuracy. But the thing that he needs to do is figure out what he does well. The thing that Brian Schottenheimer and the coaching staff needs to do is figure out what he does well and prepare a game plan for that. But let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of this whole video. Y'all ready for this raw and uncut? Y'all ready? Let's get it. Cowboys Nation, in this interview, Brian Schottenheimer was talking about the NFL doesn't have a G League that a quarterback can get acclimated to, that they can get the reps to. So they got to get the reps at any point in time. And he was talking about the practice squad and that third string quarterback that gets the reps that he needs. I honestly feel that they're going to end up going with Will Grier if Joe Milton III cannot prove himself to even be a good backup quarterback for this year in this last game against the Atlanta Falcons. But Cowboys Nation, during the last two preseason games, I will admit, I've been a little bummed out because we keep getting in those games and we keep bringing home L's when this fan base so desperately needs a win. We are so desperate for a win, even if it's a preseason win. Getting beaten by 10 points against the Los Angeles Rams, 18 points by the Baltimore Ravens. I know it's preseason, but it makes Cowboys Nation feel like we're looking at another losing season, Cowboys Nation. Then I sit back and I listen to the plan from Brian Schottenheimer, and I try to trust his process. Not the process of Jerry and Stephen Jones, but Brian Schottenheimer's process. The process of keeping things close to the chest and not revealing everything during the preseason. Then I sit back and I think of how I've contradicted myself by wanting the Jones family to keep things close to the chest when they conduct business, but here I am bitching and complaining that Brian Schottenheimer's keeping things close to the chest. I mean, I've asked Jerry and Stephen Jones to keep things close to the chest, and when somebody tries to do that with football personnel, I get bent out of shape about it. So I sit back and I try to think as Brian Schottenheimer would think. So I'm kind of thankful that they aren't going out there, they're showing other teams in the league the entire playbook. One thing that certainly helps this team when facing an opponent is the element of surprise. My thing is this, Cowboys Nation. Don't announce that you're doing this so that the teams know your plan of attack. Stop telling everybody that you're not going to put things out there in the preseason because they're not going to look forward to you putting anything out in the preseason. They're not going to look at those preseason tapes because you done went on your presser and said that we're not going to relinquish anything that we have in our playbook. That's kind of dumb, Brian Schottenheimer, but hey, I'm not the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Then we get into this whole Mazi Smith situation. Before the Baltimore Ravens game, Mazi Smith was down on his performance against the Los Angeles Rams. One thing that I love is when a player can take accountability for their performance. It's what helps get them to a better position. It's what helps them get into a better mindset when it comes to their play. The thing that I don't like is when fans go out of their way to put the players down when the team has no other option because the front office puts this team in a position that they have to rely on said player. Sure, Mazi was a first-round draft pick, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't need time to develop in his craft. That doesn't mean that it won't take time for a player to get even more confidence within himself. With all the naysayers on social media, you can't tell me that these players don't see it and then they start to get in their own heads about it. Is it okay to formulate your own opinion about a player? Of course it is. Sure it is. That's what I do here. But some may not know the power that their voice has when it comes to a person who's already in their own heads about their performance. But you know, Cowboys Nation, when I used to play football, we would big each other up. We would build each other up. We would advise what a player should work on and help them in their quest to get better. What I have seen from fans nowadays is constant belittling and degrading these types of players, Cowboys Nation, calling them a bust when they haven't even been through their rookie contract yet, especially a defensive tackle. Usually it takes a defensive tackle 3 to 4 years to get acclimated to their position in order to get a heavy tool bag. To put all those tools in their tool bag and be a great defensive tackle, it takes them a while. Why are we not giving Mazi Smith that same grace? But what this all boils down to is the expectation of fans, content creators, and talking heads alike. What type of expectations do they have for Mazi Smith? There's this narrative that's been floating around fan bases of sports teams, not just the NFL, that a first-round draft pick should hit the ground running and be this generational talent. Remember, when you have a weak draft class, you may not have too many generational talents. Honestly, I thought generational meant once a generation and not a few times a draft year. And what kills me about this whole Mazi Smith situation is the fact that every Dallas Cowboys fan knew what they were getting into whenever they drafted him. Whenever Jerry picked up that phone and said that we were drafting Mazi Smith with our first overall pick, we knew he was a project player. All we heard was how Mazi didn't like football, but he liked to hit people. So not only did the Dallas Cowboys have to get him acclimated to the Cowboys system, they had to get him to love the game of football. If your question is why the Dallas Cowboys drafted him in the first place, well, that's a question that you're going to have to take up with your front office. But again, Cowboys Nation, this all goes back to the expectation of the fan base or the people watching Mazi Smith. If he's expected to go out there and get 14 sacks a season, then you're going to be disappointed. If he's expected to go out there and fight through double teams and get 20 tackles for loss, then you're going to be disappointed. If you expect him to be the leader of the defensive line, then you're expecting the wrong things, Cowboys Nation. I view the one-tech position as that position that keeps the linebackers clean while also taking up double teams in order to allow your penetrating defensive linemen the ability to create one-on-one matchups with their offensive counterparts. I expect Mazi to be the key to this defensive pass rush because if Mazi can take up the double teams, then that leaves players like Micah Parsons and Dante Fowler Jr. to be one-on-one with the offensive tackles. Also, before we move on, I believe in the underdog story. I root for the underdog. In this situation, Mazi Smith is the underdog, and a number of Cowboys fans are rooting against him. They're rooting for him to fail. They're rooting for the Dallas Cowboys to just move on, but in the current situation, we have no one to move on with. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna put all the pressure on our rookie one-tech Jay Toya this year. No, that's not gonna be the case, Cowboys Nation. But I refuse to rob Jay Toya of his development process in order to please one side of the fan base, in turn shorting our defensive line, because without Mazi Smith in the lineup, who does this team lean on to be that starting one-tech? Sure, we could try to trade for one, but y'all know that the Jones family is going to trade for somebody that's either going to be worse than Mazi Smith or somebody that's going to be in the twilight of their careers. I'm not telling Cowboys Nation how to fan or content creators or talking heads how to do their content. All I can control is how I cover him, and I refuse to give up on him so quick. And Cowboys Nation, why I put that about Trey Lance in this video is because I had somebody in my comment section talking about Trey Lance. He was angry about how Cowboys Nation treated Trey Lance when he was a Dallas Cowboy and how some Cowboys fans don't give him a chance even when he's not with the team. My issue was not with Trey Lance. My issue was with Jerry and Stephen Jones trying to bring this young man into the building for ulterior motives, hoping that they could get the easy and cheap route of replacing Dak Prescott and allowing him to walk. If he showed that he could actually take Dak Prescott's job, that's one thing. But he hadn't shown that before the Cowboys traded for him. Then he gets to the Dallas Cowboys and they keep him on the bench. They keep him holding the clipboard, which was super unfair to him and his development. When the Dallas Cowboys would blow teams out, they would put Cooper Rush in the game, knowing that Trey Lance needed those reps. Then when Dak Prescott went down to a season-ending injury, the Cowboys didn't even put him into the game until the last game of the season, only to block Cooper Rush from attaining a game bonus. And after Trey Lance left in free agency, I came to the realization that Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Mike McCarthy, and the Dallas Cowboys organization wasted 2 years of this young man's career all over a stupid-ass experiment. So I can only speak for myself in this situation, but I didn't hate Trey Lance when he was here. I wasn't hating on this young man. If he had the talent to take Dak Prescott's job as the QB1, I would have wanted to hold on to him, but he wasn't given the chance to show us if he could. When he was put in the game, he threw multiple interceptions in one game, something some Cowboys fans and Cowboys Nation would have destroyed Dak Prescott for. Now Trey Lance is in a situation where he can get those reps. He's in a situation where he has the support of the current front office, the support of the current coaching staff, as well as the teammates. You can tell when he was playing in that Hall of Fame game against the Detroit Lions that he was actually out there having fun, and probably for the first time in his NFL career. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys fan. Cowboys Nation, what did you feel about what Brian Schottenheimer had to say during this press conference? Should Cowboys Nation trust the process? Y'all know how we do. We always talk about it in the comment section. If you're digging this content and want to help the channel chip away at its current milestone of 20,000 subscribers, drop a like on this video and please consider sharing it with anybody that you know is a Dallas Cowboys fan. And if you're DC for life and want to see more from the Dallas Cowboys team during this last preseason game against the Atlanta Falcons, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell to be notified whenever I go live, release a video, podcast episode, film breakdowns, or Madden 26 or College Football 26 gameplay. You know, Cowboys Nation, when I joined the Dallas Cowboys content creation space in 2023, I was amazed by the unity and the cohesion displayed by the fans as well as content creators alike. Like I said in my post on X, it's funny what a losing season will do to a fan base. But this has been your man, the Angry Cowboys fan, and I'm out. Dang, Angry Cowboys fan, you done made it through the entire video. But if you want more content, you can definitely go to this video right here. Or if you want the latest episode of the Angry Cowboys Fan Podcast, you can go right here. But whatever you do, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, but remain DC for life.